welcome in. What do we call this show again, Lewis? I forgot.
We're usually
Yard Prep.
It's usually Yard Prep, but it's going to be a lot shorter, and it's like an inches prep.
Yeah, we're just gonna prep a piece of the yard here. I'm Ethan Skolnick. I'm here with Lewis Sung. We're down at the Biscayne Bay Brewing Company Brew House in downtown Miami. If you're not familiar with it, it's an old building, historic building that they've renovated. You can see behind us. That's where they make the beer. They got a full food menu as well, and also if you come down here at any point today, and you mentioned 5 Reasons, you will get a free beer on us. So you can hang out with us, watch the game. People are going to start filing in here pretty soon here before the 4:30 game, 4:25 game Eastern time between the Dolphins and the Chargers. We're sponsored here by Biscayne Bay Brewing. Again, check them out. There's an independently, locally owned brewery, and they also they're partners with the Miami Marlins. They also have a partnership with the Miami Heat, and we're going to be, again, watching the Miami Dolphin game down here today. So come check us out down here and say hello. Also, of course, we are sponsored here by Prize Picks. Use the code 5, F-I-V-E. Get that initial deposit matched up to $100. Get that initial deposit matched up to $100. You don't have to put $100 down to play right away, but we recommend it if you want to consistently play. And again, you can play all of the afternoon games. Now, at this point, you can also play the Monday night game, and you can jump on there on MLB and everything else that's going on. So, Lewis, we have the inactives already as we're recording this. We're doing this at about 3:30. Prior to the game. No real surprises here. I guess one modest surprise. We knew that Terran Armstead was not going to play. That's obviously a big deal. Kendall Lamb is likely going to get the start at left tackle. But beyond that, we knew that Elijah Campbell was out. Obviously, Devon Achane, a bit of a surprise this morning, I guess. We'll get to that one. And then Cedric Wilson is also inactive today, which means that a second-year wide receiver is going to get a chance to play. So let's go over that. To you, what does the backfield look like today, and what do some of the receiver sets look like today?
So Raheem Mostert, obviously, we've been talking about it all this time. He's going to be the guy that they're going to look at to carry the load, as it were, at the running back position. Obviously, he's been hearing a lot about all these running backs that are allegedly coming to replace him, whether it's Dalvin Cook, whether it's Jonathan Taylor, whether it's Saquon Barkley, whether it's Derrick Henry. It feels like
whether it's Franco Harris, whether it's Earl Campbell, whether it's Barry Sanders. Exactly. It seems like every running back who's ever lived is going to replace Raheem Mostert.
Yeah, and so Raheem Mostert, obviously, I feel like he's going to be taking it internally, at least, a little bit personally. Mm-hmm. So he's going to be running very angry as soon as he gets the ball in his hands, which I'm very excited about. The rest is probably going to be like Savon Ahmed. I fully expect Savon Ahmed to be getting most of the backup snaps. They're probably going to throw. I would not be surprised if Chris Brooks ends up getting a few snaps, maybe on those 3rd and 1, 4th and 1 power kind of runs, because that's what he's good at. He's a bruiser. Everybody knows he's a bruiser. He knows he's a bruiser, which is the important part. And considering that the Dolphins' offensive line is going to be a little bit of how should we say it, a hodgepodge, with Kendall Lamb going to be playing left tackle. We're still not sure who the left guard is supposed to be. We know who the left guard is supposed to be, but we're
supposed to be or is going to be.
Allegedly, it's not. We're not supposed to know who the left guard is, but I think it's going to be Isaiah Wynn. But even then, just the fact that Teron Armstead's going to be missing, I know that there are some people who are looking at Khalil Mack and saying, okay, well, is he a ghost of himself or is he still dangerous? I take players who have been really good for a long time. I take them and I respect them. So I don't want to just dismiss Khalil Mack, but Joey Bosa, for sure is going to do what he's going to do. As far as the wide receiver position goes, I'm very excited to see what Eric Ezukanma does today. I'm really excited to see if he continues what he's been doing in the preseason. We already know that he's a playmaker. We know that he can do amazing things once the ball's in his hands. He's made some rather acrobatic catches in the preseason and things like that. So I'm very excited to see what he's going to do. The fact that Cedric Wilson is actually inactive kind of tells me that even though he's on the team and he's even restructured his contract to basically make himself a little bit cheaper, there is something to be said there about the fact that he's not getting the nod over guys like Ezukanma. Obviously, Braxton Berrios is going to be in there as well. So I'm very excited to see how this is going to go, and I'm very interested to see what the wide receiver position is going to look like, or if they're just going to throw it to Tyreek and Jalen Waddle all game long.
Well, and that's one of the things I wanted to get to here, because I all the props on Prize Picks, the one that was interesting to me was first 10 attempts, Tua over 6.5 completed passes. And the reason that I like that particular prop is because I think that this game plan is going to be designed in a way to get Tua comfortable early behind this offensive line. You look at them having an entire offseason to script what they want to do against a Charger team that squeezed the middle against them last year. That was the tactic that the Chargers used. The Dolphins really did not have a counter for that, to be honest. They really didn't have a counter for it after it happened in any of the games afterwards. I think that you're going to see short passing game, quick hits, Mostert, Hill, maybe Ezukanma, and Waddle, and just get Tua in some rhythm, because you do not want him holding the ball a long time. Particularly, look, the last time we saw him, it didn't go well, right? So you want to get him comfortable in this. He did not play a ton in the preseason. Obviously, played a bunch, in the shared practices and in the practices themselves. But I just think it's going to be short. Get it out quickly. Try to get some rhythm. I think what you're hoping for in this game is you don't fall behind early, because then all of a sudden you do start to get away from the script a little bit, and that's when it gets a little bit uncomfortable. And again, on offense, I do think there's more confidence in the running game this year. I think if you're McDaniel, he got criticized a lot for getting away from it. You and I criticized him a lot for getting away from it. I mean, I think that was one of our few criticisms, that maybe some of the clock management at the end of games was popped up against Buffalo. But I think now you look at Mostert, he is going to be very motivated. And I think Brooks is going to get some carries. I do. They leaned into him more and more as the preseason went on, and I know they're still looking for a lead back, but I think you want to see what this kid can do. He's a little bit of a different back than they have, and you don't know if you're going to have Jeff Wilson at any point this season. I mean, it just seems like that's one of those cryptic situations like we saw with Byron Jones. All right, so let's pivot to the defense here a little bit. We know, obviously, Herbert's going to throw the ball around a lot. I think his prop is 290 yards on Prize Picks, and I think it was 37 and a half attempts, which I went over on that. Eckler is at about 48 and a half rushing yards. Yeah, Herbert at 290 and a half passing yards. Now, no Jalen Ramsey, we know that. They're thin in general in the secondary, right? So how do you see them attacking? And I guess here's the big question. Are you comfortable with Xavier Howard as your number one guy at this point? I don't know if he's going to be lined up with Keenan Allen much, or I think maybe more so with Mike Williams. Are you comfortable with him at this stage?
I mean, I feel like I should be comfortable with Xavier Howard. I think even though he doesn't necessarily have, he's not in his prime per se anymore, this is the same thing I talk about with Khalil Mack. He's been a really good player for the entire career. I think that there's some respect that you have to put on his name just based on past performance. We know that last year he was playing injured. We know that he was suffering through groin injuries. He was having to go through a lot of stuff with that. And obviously that's going to slow you down. That's not an injury that you can just easily just pass along and pass away. But the thing that I want to really look at is that it's not just that it's going to be Xavier Howard. Kader Kohou is going to be expected to be counted on a lot in this game. There were a lot of Chargers people that were basically disrespecting Kohou, acting like, he's not going to be able to keep up with Keenan Allen, ignoring the fact that Kader Kohou did a fantastic job last season. He was considered one of the best rookies in the entire NFL last year. In fact, in spite of the fact that he was undrafted out of Texas A&M Commerce, which I did not even know was a school before last season. And so with all that in mind, I know the Dolphins secondary is not as strong as we'd like it to be. Obviously, we're still looking forward to when Jalen Ramsey gets out there. We're still waiting for Nick Needham, who's going to have to wait 4 weeks before he can even get off the PUP list, assuming he even gets off of it at all. So we're just going to keep a very close eye on that. But there are other players that the Dolphins can keep an eye on. Obviously, Cam Smith is going to be active, and we saw that he did some really good things in the preseason and in training camp. A lot of good stuff there. There are a lot of good players that are on this roster, a lot better players than we're giving them credit for, I feel like. Because even though we're looking at last season and saying the Dolphins got wiped out by the Chargers, and even then the score was not that drastic of a difference, but we're still looking at the fact that this is a Vic Fangio-led defense who is not going to be using the same game plan they did last season. There's not going to be zero blitzing on every other down, trying to get Justin Herbert on the ground as fast as humanly possible. That's not going to happen this time. It's going to be a defense that's going to be waiting for Justin Herbert to make a mistake, and believe you me, he will eventually make a mistake. That Alfredo Arteaga made a whole basically
usually in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, always in the fourth quarter
on a game-tying drive.
So
but here's the key point as we get to the predictions here. Tua was awful in the game last year, and they were competitive. And again, you mentioned the changes that they've made defensively here. Here's my thought as we pivot to the predictions here. And again, go to Prize Picks, use the code 5, and come check us out here at Biscayne Bay Brewing Company in downtown Miami. I think that if they keep this game close, they win. I think if they keep this game close, they stay with the game plan, they stay with the running game, I think they win. My concern is the early stuff in this game. And, again, you don't, they got Ramsey for a reason, right? And then they got thinner in the secondary as they went. I want to see Jalen Phillips get pressure. I want to see Chubb get pressure, okay? Because, he came in midseason, but now he's in Fangio's defense. He's had an entire offseason with this program. To me, the over-under for this game is 4.5 sacks. Okay, let's the pressures obviously have to be there, but can they get 4 or 5 sacks in this game? Can they get Herbert a little flustered? I think they'll take away Eckler for the most part. I I think if they keep this game close, they win. I am actually going to predict a win today. I think I said 27-24, something along those lines. I'm concerned about the kicker. I'm always going to be concerned about the kicker, Lewis. But I do think that this team, now with another year under McDaniel, understanding what he wants, if Tua can stay relatively upright and avoid the big mistake, I just think I think ultimately they have enough weapons. When I talk about weapons, I talk about defense too. And they have, I think, major playmakers on that side, whether it's Holland makes a play, Phillips makes a play, Chubb makes a play, and we'll see. Christian Wilkins, look, he hadn't been hitting anybody the whole camp, but he's playing for a contract. So we'll see how that goes. How do you see it going today?
I made the prediction on Pulse of Fins Nation. I believe I said that the score was going to be 33-27 in favor of the Dolphins. I just feel like that my co-hosts Ron and Duke, they were on there saying that this is going to be a slugfest. Ron even went as far as to say that he thinks that the Chargers are going to win this game. But my honest prediction at this point is that the Dolphins will win, and it's simply because there's all these different changes that have happened on the Dolphins team. Now it's Vic Fangio instead of Josh Boyer. That's a huge thing. The offense is going to be in year 2 of its offense, and not only that, it's not only that Tua is better overall in the offense, is that they've been facing an entirely different defense this entire time during training camp, during the preseason and everything. Tua struggled mightily against that Chargers defense run by Brandon Staley, who in himself, he is a Vic Fangio protege.
Right.
So everything that
Ronaldo Hill is with you now too.
Exactly.
So that helps.
So that helps a lot. Obviously, Ronaldo Hill can't tell him what Brandon Staley is going to do. They can tell him his tendencies.
Right.
They can say Brandon Staley likes to do this in a specific situation because he knows that much, but he's not going to know the whole game plan. But either way, you're going to look at Brandon Staley and say, okay, his defense is going to be very similar to what Vic Fangio runs. Tua's been facing it this entire time. He's going to know what to expect. Going to be like, okay, I recognize this from practice. This guy's probably sitting over there doing something, so I probably should try to find it somewhere else to throw it, or at least that's what you're hoping he's learned from all this. So that's why I feel like the Dolphins are going to be in a situation where they're going to be able to put up points. And as far as the Chargers go, none of their starters got any preseason time. Everything was all practice. I had on Arjun, who was joining me on Fins Nation just on Friday, and he said that he didn't feel like it was going to be that big of a deal. I personally feel like preseason a little bit more important than that, especially when you're starting a brand new offense with Kellen Moore, who I don't care if you're a really good player or not, you still need to be able to get into that rhythm. It's different when the bullets are live than when you have the red no contact jersey on which says you're not allowed to touch me. It's a very different thing.
So we both like the Dolphins today, which means they won't win. But we'll see how it plays out. Come visit us over at the Biscayne Bay Brewhouse. They brought us our food while we were sitting here, so I guess we'll get to that a little bit after the fact. And again, we'll be here more often as the season goes on. Also, check us out or check Prize Picks out. Use that code 5. So we'll see. Dolphins 1-0. See what happens.
Let's see.